hey you, or hello everybody, or what sounds good. I'm just starting this new podcast thing, and I'm not really sure what sounds good yet. Um, I just know when I listen to podcasts or vlogs or what have you, I'm getting kind of sick and tired. Hey you guys, everybody says you guys. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to be different. So, welcome to my new studio. Just kidding. I don't have a studio. I'm just bare boning here, guys. I'm actually in my local library in a study room. I used one of these when my library was located downtown, in the area where I live in California, when I went to school for my associates of business, and then I went to school for um, my paralegal certificate. So I used those study rooms. Um, and it's really helpful. It's really quiet. It's really private. But the thing is, with this new one, I'm like exposed. So what you don't see behind my phone is like an open area where people can walk by and with library books and what have you. See, in the old one, it was down in the basement and there was no windows. There was one door to open and that was it. And I love that. Nice and private down in the basement. Nobody's going to see you, hear you, what have you. But it's like, whoa, kind of scary. So what I have here is my iPad. So I'm acting like I'm doing like a Zoom call or Skype. Is that even a thing anymore? Does Skype even exist? I don't know. I have to Google that. Anyway, that just popped in my head. It just showed my age. Anyhow, today's topic, welcome everybody. Well, I just went into ramble. Welcome everybody to a new podcast, a new vlog, if you're seeing this on YouTube. My name is Erica with a K, and today's topic, I thought we'd talk about marriage. Yes, I am married. I have been married since 2007. Been with the same man since 2001. When I was 25 years old. And I want to preface by saying when I first got into this relationship, I was young, I was lost. I was just a social butterfly, wanted to hang out with my friends. And then that's basically it, wanted people to like me and, socialize, and that's all I cared about at that time. I didn't have any goals, any ambitions. I went to school part-time, you know. After I graduated high school in 95, I went to go live with my boyfriend for a summer. We'll discuss him in another vlog, but that's a whole different story for another day. Anywho, so my parents basically said, if you come back home, we'll pay for your college and what have you. And I said, okay. So I did, but then I didn't go to class. I went part-time, basically. I hung out with the wrong crowd, with the outcasts, because that's what I felt at that time. I felt like an outcast. I felt like I didn't belong to anywhere. I didn't have many friends, so in this group, I saw an opportunity to have friends and whatnot, but that was the wrong group. They didn't have goals, ambitions, just like I was, at that time. So I don't know why I went on that rant. Just to give you a background of me, so I didn't have any ambitions, any goals, or anything like that. I just basically hung out with my friends, got high, got stoned, and drunk, and that's it. So, my history with men is not very favorable, to say the least, because they were at the same stage in life that I was, which is no ambitions, no goals, just want to hang out and have fun. Um, and so when I met Jim, that's his name, when I met my husband, um, no, I didn't have any counseling, any therapy. I heard about therapy, but I was like, I don't need that. And I don't want to talk about, what's bothering me. Or, as a matter of fact, I didn't think anything, was wrong with me. I didn't think, how I was behaving, how I was doing this, how I was doing that, how I was going on with my life. I was just carefree. I was just like, hey, I didn't think nothing of it. And then I met my husband online. Back then, it was a thrill to go on those, those chat rooms, those Yahoo Messengers, MSN Messengers, ICQ. That's where I met him. Or he messaged me actually on ICQ, which is like a messaging app. And so on my bio, I had that I went to a local college here. And he said, hey, Erica, I went to so and such college too. And I'm a very outgoing person. I love to talk to people, and I'm shy. So I said, okay, um, but what'd you like about the college? And we started talking like that. And then throughout our conversation, I think it was like a day or two, I really don't remember, that he mentioned that he knew so and so. And I said, hey, I used to work there, and I used to intern because I used to do video production. And so there was this studio out here called Charter Communications, and so I interned there. I had gotten my certificate in video production, and so I interned at that cable company. And so he just happened to know the person who worked there as well. And his name was James as well. And so I said, hey, that was my boss. And then we got to talking. And then he asked me, do you want to meet in real life? I said, I was kind of apprehensive, but it it was clear to me that we knew somebody in person. And so I felt comfortable enough to say, yeah, why not? So I remember the day clearly, like it was yesterday. Um, we met in the parking lot of the local college that he worked at the time. And then I used to work there as well, maybe like 2 years prior or something. So we met at that parking lot, the football parking lot. And so we met at the parking lot, and oh my God, thinking about it now, I would never do this. I would never, ever do this. No, no. So he asked me, so I was in the car, he was in the car. I pulled up next to him, right in the car in the parking lot, say, hey, how you doing? You know, um, say, hey, you want to follow me to my house? And, naive little me said, okay. So I felt comfortable enough because he knew the same person in real life. Never do that again. Ever. Anyhow, so I followed him to his house. And then I don't remember what we talked about initially. I have no idea. And then we had agreed to have dinner at this local pizza joint. And so we rode together to the pizza joint. And then we talked some more, mostly about music, because that's how we got connected. Because I'm an old soul and I love music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so I grew up with that type of music, so I've always been interested in vintage and um, that type of thing. And so he's older than me. He's 19 years older than me. And so that's how we hit it off. By, he was impressed that a 25-year-old would know the Delphonics or, the Temptations or, stuff like that. He was very impressive, like, oh, you know them? I said, yeah, of course I know them. My dad, my stepfather used to play their records and all the time, and we have nights where we just listen to records, and he would play his oldies, his 50s music, his 60s music. That's how we got exposed to that. And so he was impressed by that. And so we got to talking. And then for some reason, I said I needed to go to the grocery store to get, like, I don't know, I was doing laundry or whatever. And I needed to get stuff to do laundry. And to me, I think back on it, like, oh, stupid idiot. So we went to the store that was down the street, and then we did that, and then I don't remember what else we did. But then we started talking, we started hanging out more. He had his own place. I still lived with my parents at the time. I was used to, the people that I dated still living with their parents too, because we're same stage in life, or not stage, but I should say the same journey, I guess. I hate when people say journey all the time. Not journey, just the same, I don't know, space, I guess, on the same space in this planet at the time. When I was dating people that lived in parents' house, I lived in my parents' house, so naturally I gravitate to that. But this is the first time that I ever dated someone who had their own house, had a good job. So immediately I was infatuated by that. And so through the years, I realized that he was an alcoholic. His first marriage, she was a drug addict, and so she would come in and out of the house. She would like disappear for months on end, and then come back, and that type of thing. And so his life was very chaotic in that way, and mine was too. And so I didn't, I was just more infatuated with the fact that, he had his own place and a good job, and I bypassed the rest because I felt so little about myself. I had major low self-esteem and had no respect for myself. And that's hard to admit, but had no respect for myself. Because people treated me like I was nothing, The people that were supposed to protect me didn't. And in that, they didn't instill in me, oh, you could do it, you're great, you got this, and you have the skills, and you know how it is, but I never had that growing up. So when I got older, I grew up thinking, I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't able to carry on a normal relationship. I wasn't able to take care of myself, basically. And so in that frame of thinking, I gravitated toward men who didn't treat me very well. And I just thought that was normal, which is very, very sad to say. When you grew up in an abusive environment since a child, you grow up with a sense of not knowing yourself, or not knowing what you deserve. You think that you deserve less than. You think that you're a piece of shit, essentially. It got thrown in your face so many times that you believe it after a while. And so in my mentality, I let people walk all over me. I let people use me. I let people disrespect me, because I didn't have that for myself at all. So I realized that he was an alcoholic and that he drank a lot. He was dealing with his ex-wife. So, and then he found me, and then we developed a relationship, but in that I found that he was cheating online. There again, I continued with the relationship because I thought I could change him. I thought that, I'll be this wonderful woman, and that he'd take me seriously, and that, I would change him, you know? And so I found out he was cheating on me online. He had a girlfriend online. And that made me feel so lonely and so low. And I brought it to him lots of times, and he just placated me and say, it doesn't mean anything. I'll stop talking to her, and um, the bullshit that men say. I'll stop talking to her. It doesn't mean anything. I was just bored, and yeah, okay. And in my naivete, I bought it. I bought what he's selling me. What he's telling me. He told me he would stop doing it. He told me it didn't mean anything. Okay. So, okay. I brought it to his attention, and it seemed like he stopped. For a while, he did. But he would only stop for like 6 months. And then, since back then I didn't know the talent that I had, or the talent for research, and I should have become a paralegal at that time, because that's exactly how paralegals are. We research things, we know how to find things out, we're like basically the FBI. So, I was the FBI in his computer, and that's toxic behavior. I realize that now. I totally realize that now. But at the time, that's what I was used to. That's what I was brought up to accept. The constant disrespect is what I was brought up to accept. So I did my research and found out he was doing it again, and I accepted it. And because here's the thing, I was still living at my parents' house full time, and then staying with him part time. In staying with Jim, he allowed me to be myself, who I was at that time. He allowed me to drink a lot. He allowed me to express myself fully. So I felt the freedom to be completely my true self at the time that I thought myself was. And yet I was still living with my parents. And then my stepfather would berate me sometimes and say, you're not going to school, you're not finishing work, and you're not going to amount to anything, you're going to be a loser the rest of your life, and blah blah blah. You're hearing that constantly, blah 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 blah, in the back of your head, in the back of your head, in the back of your head. And then you escape that to go into another situation where you think they let you be yourself and let you don't hear those constant words. You're not going to amount to anything. You're a loser. La 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 la. You don't hear that. And so that was my reprievement. That was my safety into another chaotic situation. And that's very sad when I think about it. Very, very sad. And there's grief in that when I lost my dignity, when I lost, people who could treat me the way I deserved to be treated, but I didn't know what that was. I had no clue whatsoever. None. Zip. Zero. Zilch. So of course I gravitated to him. I mean, what abused kid wouldn't? That was a great situation there. I thought I had the high life. I thought I was like, oh my God, I get to be myself. I get to drink, I get to, cuss and say the things I want to say on the top of my head and be who I thought I was at the time, having a good time, drinking, and all this stuff. Woohoo! Any 25-year-old would think that was glamorous. Abused 25-year-old, I should say. So, I found out that he wanted to bring the girl he met online in real life. He wanted to meet her. I wasn't okay with that. I was not okay with that. I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm jealous, and I don't do that. I'm sorry, but no. I don't play that. Homie don't play that, and no, there is no way. So at least I had one boundary, at least, one boundary. So she came over, and she was going to come over, and I said, I can't do this. I'm out of here. I went to go visit my father, who lived in Maryland at the time. The one who passed away. Just a year later. He was unalived a year later. And I went to go visit him for a month while she was down here with him doing God knows what. That's another topic for another day. I'll get into that in another episode. How I dealt with that and how much guilt I felt because I couldn't really enjoy my time with my father because my mind was back. What the hell is he doing with, so-and-so, And that's another topic for another episode. So I came back from that trip, traumatized, to say the least. And of course he wanted to get back with me. He met me at the airport, picking me up from dealing with all the bullshit of my father's estate and all that shit. I was not here emotionally. My body was here. My body was here, but my mind was not. My emotions were gone. I was basically a shell of who I was. And then when I came back from Maryland, I was devastated. I was lost. I was gone. I felt like I had died too. And I was not functioning well. My mental health was gone. I just went through the motions. I just did what I had to do. I didn't work. I had scheduled to go back to school, actually, that September of 2002. I attempted to go, but then I dropped out because I couldn't handle it. And so after I did that, then I didn't work, drunk all the time, abused alcohol, smoked weed occasionally, hung out with my friends, hung out with Jim, just living the high life. I did that for about a year straight. And then, after I was tired of that, you do get tired of it after a while. Even a grieving person. I don't know about a grieving person, but I know about me. I was tired of it after a while. So I eventually did go back to school, like a year later. And then I got my units I went to early childhood development. Because before that, I was a certified nurse assistant. I did a lot of jobs. Now thinking about it, I did a lot of jobs. Um, I was a certified nurse assistant. I was working as a CNA when I met Jim. Should have mentioned that, sorry. And so I was working as a CNA before that. But then after everything happened, then I quit. And then I went back to school like a year later, like I said, to get my early childhood development units. So he was still drinking. He was still doing his shenanigans. I won't go into it. But it was very toxic. Thinking back on it, very toxic. The cycle continued. He stopped talking to that one chick. I don't know. But years later, I did find out that he was still emailing her through my FBI investigations, So, anyway, so I did the whole preschool thing for maybe I don't know, a year. So the year was 2003, 2004. Went to 2004. And I got tired of it, kids drive me crazy. The employees were young, and I didn't really like dealing with the whole environment. So I decided to get an office job, and I got one in 2004. So I wanted to ask him what he felt, and again, I laugh at myself now. I can laugh about it now. I've talked about the therapy. Like I said, I had 10 years of therapy, so I can talk about it now without bawling my eyes out. And because for a lot of years I did not forgive myself. I thought I was a fucking idiot, what the hell are you doing? What the fuck? It's like, dude, why do you accept that shit? You're a beautiful young lady, you have your whole life ahead of you, and still you're dealing with this. Ugh. So I went to therapy and I forgave myself. I gave myself grace. Because I realized I wasn't well mentally to begin with. I was dealing with a toxic environment in my house. How does a person who lives in a toxic environment believe that they deserve better? How do they believe that all the things that have been done to them are unacceptable? They don't. They think it's normal. They think it's, well, this is what I deserve. I'm not worthy of anything good. It's got to be toxic. It's got to be chaos all the time. So I asked him, what he thought about marriage. And he said, he thought about it and, but he wasn't ready at the time. This is 2004. So, I was 28? Yeah. No. Yeah, I was 28, sorry. I was 28 years old at the time, so I thought in my head, I've been with this guy, for a while now, and, I think it's time to settle down, and, I want to get married, I always wanted the fairy tale wedding, I want to get married, and someone to love me, and, take care of me, we can have this beautiful life together, and it's going to be so romantic, it's going to be so affectionate, and, Of course, they always told me there's a difference between a wife and a girlfriend. And so I took that to mean, what? That he was going to change. That he was going to take me seriously. That he was going to stop drinking and stop looking at porn online and stop talking to other chicks. So I was like, oh, okay. So you tell me there's a difference between a wife and a girlfriend? All right. Bandejita. So in another year, this is, I was gonna become 30, and for me, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be 30, and I wanted to be married, and this is not going the way I wanted it to, and it's taking too long, and so I broke up with him. He didn't like that too much. So I finally had enough. I finally said, I want to find somebody who I want to get married. I was going to be 30, and I think the time is right. And so, what does he do? He's gone through a lot of family gatherings at this point, so he emails my mother. He emails my mother to say, I don't remember. I had the emails all from that time all the way up until maybe, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and I finally deleted it. Finally, after all this time, I was like, you know what? I don't need to see that anymore. It was just dragging me down. It's just not good for my mental health to keep a part of me that it doesn't even exist anymore, on this planet. So I just deleted it. I said, fuck it, I deleted everything. And I kept everything. Evidence that he was cheating, evidence that he, like I said, it was paralegal. At that time, I didn't even know it. Could have been a paralegal all this time. But it had evidence, digital evidence of him cheating on me, talking to other chicks online, his emails, all that stuff. I saved it. And then finally I had enough, maybe like 3-4 years ago, and I deleted it. And it felt very good to do that, because why was I holding on to that traumatic event? Why was I holding on to bullshit, essentially? Something that's gonna tear me down. Every time I look at it, I'm gonna be disgusted and be like, oh my God, what the fuck was I thinking? And that wasn't me anymore, and I didn't want to do that. So, and then after he sent that email and I found out about it, I went back to him. Because in my mind I thought, well, if he was willing to email my mother to tell her that he was the right man and that he's going to take care of me and all that stuff, then he was the right one. So eventually he did ask me. Very unromantic, like. Wasn't the fantasy I thought in my head, I'll tell you that. He asked me to marry him. This is how he asked me to marry him. So I'm sitting here, right? And he's sitting right next to me. I'm watching TV, whatever. Was ever on TV. And so he goes, I have something for you. Oh, I got something for you at the dollar store. I said, oh, okay, what is it, Got all excited. He handed me this ring box. And I opened it. And then he said, will you marry me? And I think the first thing I said, well, you gotta ask me right. You gotta ask me on one knee. I mean, this is not how it's supposed to go. And so we laughed about it, and then he did go down on one knee and then ask me. And I was like, oh my God, that's so Who cares if he's an alcoholic? Who cares if he, cheated on me? I'm like, I was getting married. Oh my God, somebody wants to marry me. Yeah. Wow. What I would do different now with this brain of mine, with this head of mine, what I would do different. You know what? I think I'm going to leave the rest of it for another time because this video is getting way long. So thank you for joining me. Stay tuned for part 2 because that is coming up. If you're dealing with this sort of situation, just realize you're not alone. Many people out there on this planet have dealt with it too. If you're having struggles and forgiving yourself or giving yourself grace, don't. You did the best you could with what you've been taught. And it's not your fault. You are a human being who's been abused. You have to give yourself grace. We have to give ourselves grace. Because nobody's going to give it to us but us. And just keep going. Just keep going in this life, on this planet. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe. I think I'm getting a little better talking on camera, but I'm not sure. If I am, please let me know. Please comment down below. I would love to get feedback from 30, 40 viewers I have on here, podcaster. So that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Please stand by for the other one, and we'll talk to you soon. And I hope you have a beautiful day. And sending all my well wishes and prayers and love to you all. Take care.